A glove discovered in a field offered a glimmer of hope. Tonight, we follow that trail, from the nearly erased doorbell footage back to the gear itself, conducting over 1,000 interviews and chasing down 600 leads. Not a single arrest was made. The break came from purchase records. The Bureau subpoenaed retailers for transactions matching the bomb parts. They looked for galvanized pipes, end caps, 9-volt batteries, kitchen timers, and electrical wire. They analyzed 233,000 sales of a single end cap model and subpoenaed sneaker companies after identifying the suspect's shoes. They then cross-referenced that data with cell tower pings, license plate readers, and eyewitness descriptions. And buried in the center of all that intersecting data, one name emerged: Brian Cole Jr. He'd purchased the parts from places like Home Depot and Walmart. His phone was near the scene. A plate reader caught his car. This evidence had been sitting in FBI files for years. The dots just hadn't been connected. The parallels to the Guthrie investigation are chilling. A suspect caught on camera, identifiable items traced back to their point of sale, each item meticulously traced through a web of retail records and surveillance systems. Purchase histories are subpoenaed and checked against all other evidence. It's the exact same playbook. The FBI knows it works. The only difference is the clock. Connecting the dots in the Cole case took 5 years. In the Guthrie case, the data is pouring in right now. Can investigators close the gap faster this time? Now, let's talk about the DNA, because the situation is far murkier than the news has let on. This investigation is juggling at least 2 separate, unknown DNA profiles, and they don't match each other. The first sample was pulled from a glove found about 2 meters from Nancy Guthrie's house in a nearby field. The FBI confirms the glove appears to be a visual match to the one worn by the suspect on camera. Lab tests uncovered a DNA profile of an unknown male. It was run through CODIS, the FBI's database of over 26 million profiles. Nothing. The second DNA set was recovered from inside Nancy Guthrie's property. It's not Nancy's, nor does it belong to anyone close to her. Investigators are deploying the very same techniques that have shattered impossible cases before. And critically, it is not a match to the DNA from the glove. 2 crime scenes, 2 unknown men, 0 hits in the system. There are a few theories on the table, and none of them are clean. The glove might be a complete red herring. Search crews recovered 16 gloves, and most belonged to the searchers themselves. The FBI has been clear that the link between that glove and the video is based only on what they can see, not a confirmed forensic match. The DNA inside the home could be from someone totally unrelated to this. A repairman, a contractor, a friend who visited months ago. Houses are collectors of random DNA, or there might have been an accomplice. The tipster who called TMZ used a very specific phrase, the main individual. That choice of words strongly implies that others were involved. If a second person was there, 2 different DNA profiles found in 2 different places suddenly start to make perfect sense. The sheriff has hinted that the DNA from inside the property could be the real smoking gun, because while the public was riveted by ransom notes and DNA, a different hunt was underway. He believes they might have the suspect's DNA, but it's a contaminated sample that needs to be isolated and tested again before they can be sure. The DNA from the glove is now headed for genetic genealogy testing. This is the same advanced technique that led police to Brian Kohberger in the Idaho College murders. It works by uploading a DNA profile to public genealogy sites to find relatives, then building a family tree backward to a single person. But there's a major roadblock that could bring this entire process to a grinding halt. The 3 biggest consumer DNA companies, 23andMe, MyHeritage, and Ancestry DNA. Over 50 million DNA profiles sit behind corporate walls, shielded from law enforcement. This forces investigators to rely on smaller, opt-in sites like GED Match and others. Their combined pools contain fewer than 2 million profiles. A leading genealogist publicly urged the Guthries to beg for an exception. But it's a long shot. Investigators were quietly assembling a paper trail, a purchase history that could put a face to a ghost. While the retail and DNA trails ran their course, A different, high-tech hunt for Nancy Guthrie herself was already underway. On February 3rd, Parsons Corporation unleashed its BlueFly tech, a sensor built for search and rescue. It's a device under a pound, with a range of about 218 yards. First mounted on a sheriff's helicopter, it was later used by crews on the ground. Its mission: to find the Bluetooth signal from Nancy's pacemaker. The signal is short-range, designed for syncing with a nearby phone. Just because her pacemaker app disconnected at 2:28 a.m. doesn't mean the device failed. Pacemakers run independently. If it's active and close, BlueFly could theoretically find it. The desert, however, is saturated with Bluetooth noise from countless devices. On February 10th, the FBI released images it had salvaged from the wreckage of Nancy Guthrie's Nest doorbell camera. BlueFly registers every one of these signals as a potential lead. Teams must isolate and clear each false positive until they either find Nancy's signal or exhaust the grid. A new weapon has emerged: a prototype drone detector built specifically for this search. The FBI has possession and could deploy it any day now. An expert called the pacemaker the one truly unbiased witness, generating pure, unfiltered data. If that telemetry can ever be accessed, it won't just show where Nancy is, but exactly what happened when the camera cut out. But on February 15th, a leak from inside the investigation completely shattered the public narrative. The new official theory: this was a robbery that spiraled out of control. It was a conclusion multiple outside experts reached after seeing the doorbell footage. The suspect had tried to destroy all evidence of his presence. The subject's behavior, his cheap gear, the chaotic approach, none of it screamed professional kidnapper. A burglar who stumbled upon Nancy would have faced a sudden, terrifying choice: either run and risk being identified, or eliminate the only witness. If true, this theory explains nearly every inconsistency in the kidnapping story. The ransom notes were likely a cruel hoax by an outsider trying to cash in on the tragedy. And the medication left behind? That finally made sense. A cornered thief would never stop to consider a victim's prescription needs. The amateurish nature of the crime scene now clicked into place. A real kidnapper wouldn't use mismatched gear or linger for 41 agonizing minutes. But a panicked burglar, caught in a situation he never imagined, might do just that. He failed, and those few surviving frames ignited an investigation involving over 400 law enforcement officers, and the source added a bombshell: investigators widely believe Nancy could still be alive. Suddenly, this wasn't a recovery mission. It was a race against time. Every lead, every DNA strand, now carried the weight of a life. The pacemaker search was no longer about solving a crime, it was about a rescue. On February 17th, the sheriff made a formal declaration. The entire Guthrie family, siblings, spouses, all of them were publicly cleared. Clearing family in a live case is a monumental decision, meaning the evidence has been vetted. Alibis, phone logs, every piece of data pointed to their definitive innocence. For a sheriff who once said everyone was a suspect, this was a tectonic shift. The evidence trail had turned, pointing them in a starkly new direction. And the footage reveals a male figure, estimated to be between 5'9" and 5'10" with an average build. Online theories built by armchair detectives on nothing but suspicion began to collapse. The sheriff called the rumors cruel fabrications. But what if the official story isn't the whole truth? 400 investigators chase 50,000 leads, while DNA evidence waits for a name. They're combing through purchase records from a retail titan and scouring gun store logs. Drones scan the desert for a pacemaker signal, as a man in a ski mask finds his anonymity slipping away. The FBI has it: a Walmart-exclusive backpack, its purchase history a digital breadcrumb trail. A cheap $10 holster with its own unique story is tightening the net. Other clothing items, likely from the same shopping trip, add to the profile. DNA from 2 different men, found in 2 separate locations, is being run against everything. There's a faint outline beneath his glove, the unmistakable shape of a ring. He's wearing a dark zip-up jacket, gloves, a backpack, and carrying a holstered handgun at his waist. Then, a leak from inside. A source claims Nancy Guthrie might still be alive. The man who took her thought he was a ghost. He hid his face, wore gloves, and killed the camera. He never accounted for the receipt. He didn't know his backpack was a store exclusive. He missed that the holster didn't fit the gun. He never considered the impression his ring would leave through the thin fabric. He forgot the genetic trace he left just meters from the crime, and he underestimated what happens when the FBI and Walmart unite. 400 agents and 50,000 tips converging on one single sale. It started with one person in one store. They purchased a pack, maybe a holster, a mask, and gloves. That payment left a digital ghost. Buried in Walmart's data, that transaction is waiting. Its discovery is now a certainty. If you bought an Ozark Trail hiker pack in the Tucson area during December or January, police need your help. Or if you know someone who did, please contact authorities. The FBI is at 1-800-CALL-FBI. The Pima County Sheriff's Office can. But the lab results were a dead end, with no matches in the FBI's vast database of 57 million offenders. In one moment, he lifts a gloved hand toward the camera, then abruptly turns away. Be reached at 520-351-4900. There is a $100,000 reward. It's been 18 days. Nancy Guthrie needs her pacemaker and her medicine. As we speak, 400 people are searching the Arizona desert to bring her home. This is not over. This continues our ongoing coverage. For Part 1, see the link in the description. Subscribe for updates. When this case breaks, we will be the first to report it. Later, he faces the lens with a small light in his mouth, trying to block the view with foliage. Most public attention zeroed in on the obvious. The gun, the mask, the menacing posture. That's human nature. But investigators were seeing something else entirely. They weren't looking at his fashion. They were deconstructing his shopping list. Every piece of gear he wore is a commercial product, with a maker, a distributor, and a sales history. The first thread they pulled was the backpack, a black, 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker pack. And that single product identification cracked the case wide open. Ozark Trail is manufactured exclusively for Walmart. You cannot find it at Target. It is not for sale on Amazon. It is not sold anywhere else. If you own an Ozark Trail product, you purchased it from Walmart. It was a crushing setback. But the hunt wasn't over. There were other ways. There is no other source. Full stop. For the suspect, this exclusivity is devastating. It means every single unit is logged in Walmart's database. Every sale is tied to a location, a time, and a payment that can be traced back to an individual. Walmart has already handed all of those records over to federal investigators. They now have the purchase data for every single hiker pack sold in recent months across multiple regions. In-store purchases and online orders every sale. Agents are now meticulously combing through that mountain of data. How many sold in the last 30 days? The last 60? Was a traceable credit or debit card used? Were any of them bought with other items from his outfit? And was the sale captured by surveillance? Because Walmart's security camera network is famously comprehensive. It watches the entrances, the exits, every single register, most aisles, and the parking lot. New techniques could be used to test that DNA. If the suspect purchased that backpack in person, there's a very high probability his unmasked face is on tape. Investigators also theorize the mask and other clothing were purchased there as well. The working hypothesis is that the suspect made one single trip to outfit himself completely. One location, one visit, one set of cameras. But the other clothes are not a Walmart exclusive. You can purchase a generic dark jacket or a ski mask from dozens of different stores. Investigators acknowledge the Walmart connection for the clothing is a theory, not a certainty. But the logic is simple. With the backpack from Walmart and clothes to match, the theory was simple. A single shopping trip. If agents could pinpoint the brands, they could trace the receipt. Imagine one transaction for an Ozark Trail pack, a ski mask, and these specific black gloves. Not a typical lab analysis, but something many have used themselves. Genetic genealogy. That single purchase would instantly create a prime suspect. But a nearly invisible detail in the footage changes everything. The holster. He's wearing a gun holster, identified as a model sold at some Walmarts for about $10. It's a strategy brand. Large frame revolver hip holster. Water resistant. Made for a revolver with a 4 to 6.5-inch barrel. For a right-handed shooter. But the weapon he's holding isn't a revolver. It looks like a Walther semi-automatic. It's a bizarre mismatch. A revolver holster for a semi-automatic, a rookie mistake. This is the exact error you'd expect from someone who just walked into a Walmart. They grab the cheapest holster they see, clueless about its purpose, using it out of pure necessity. This tells investigators he is no professional. Nancy Guthrie's abductor was meticulous, face hidden, hands gloved, camera disabled. He was almost perfect. His gun handling already screamed amateur. The holster was proof. He's someone with a weapon and a plan, but no skill. And crucially, far fewer people buy that holster than the backpack. If agents cross-reference holster and backpack sales from the same store or time frame, they're not sifting through hundreds of sales anymore. They could be down to a handful. The FBI is already closing in from another angle. Agents are hitting gun shops all over the Tucson area. They're showing the footage, asking if anyone knows the suspect, the weapon, the holster. One owner confirmed the FBI brought a list, 18 to 24 names with photos, to check against his records. 18 to 24 names. Let that sink in. You don't show up with a list that long unless you've already built a roster of persons of interest. But he made one critical mistake. He bought his supplies at Walmart. A world of cameras and records, receipts, DNA, anonymous tips, surveillance footage. Something gave them those names. The gun stores are just one more piece of the puzzle. The sheriff denies they've narrowed their focus to any one group, but the gun store owner's story suggests otherwise. They have names, and they are digging. That retail paper trail is a primary source feeding their list. But first, there's a technical detail about the footage that has to be understood. The camera was filming in infrared mode, standard for Nest cameras in the dark, and infrared lies. It warps how materials look. Dark objects can appear bright. The suspect's ski mask looks light gray in the video, but it's not. Investigators believe it is black. And now, Walmart's own corporate security is working hand in glove with the FBI. The different shades are just an illusion caused by the fabric reflecting infrared light. The same goes for the holster. It looks light, maybe multicolored, but it's likely a single dark color. This is critical, because the public is trying to ID gear based on a distorted image, and many of those online theories are dead wrong. Investigators are operating from a completely different visual reality. They are reverse engineering the image, using physics to find the real-world products. It's a level of forensic science the public simply can't replicate. And there's one more detail almost no one is talking about. A possible ring on his hand. The sheriff mentioned the images seem to show a ring under the glove. The forensic team is now trying to confirm if that glint is real. If it is, it's a game changer. Because every single transaction by card or by cash, in-store or online, leaves a digital trail. A ring is personal, almost impossible to hide. You can change your clothes, you can shave your head, you can change cities, but a ring worn every day leaves an imprint. Everyone you work with sees it. The clerk at your morning coffee stop sees it. It's a ghost in photographs, a flicker on security footage. And it's a memory burned into the mind of every person whose hand you've ever shaken. A unique ring on that video gives investigators a solid piece of evidence, not just another vague description. It's a specific item that somebody, somewhere, has definitely seen before. But does this retail trail actually work? Can sifting through sales receipts truly lead to a suspect's identity? We don't have to speculate. The FBI proved the method works just a few months back. On December 4th, 2025, agents arrested Brian Cole Jr. for planting pipe bombs near the RNC and DNC headquarters in D.C. That case had been cold for almost 5 years. After reviewing 39,000 video files, the case of Nancy Guthrie serves as a haunting reminder that in our modern world no one is truly a ghost. We often believe that shadows and silence can hide our darkest moments. But justice is woven into the very fabric of our daily lives. The suspect thought he was meticulous, hiding his face, gloving his hands, and disabling cameras. Yet, he was undone by the most mundane of actions: a simple shopping trip. Every transaction, every store-exclusive backpack, and even a cheap $10 holster became a digital breadcrumb trail leading straight to his door. Even the faint glint of a ring beneath a glove, a symbol of personal identity, refused to be erased. The value for us all. This isn't just a crime story. It's a powerful testament to the fact that our choices leave an indelible mark. Technology and forensic science are now the unbiased witnesses that speak for those who cannot. Let this be a lesson in accountability. There is no perfect crime when the world is connected by a web of records and shared humanity. Justice may take time, but it is relentless, tracing the invisible threads we leave behind until the truth is brought into the light.